Hello everyone, Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching. I have another Monday quarterback video for you. I'm going to play the entirety of this video and then I'll go back and talk about things that are going on. I better explain what's going on and talk about things that I think that were done right and or done wrong. Without further ado, here we go.
Alpha 1. Correct. Start for Liberty and Cass, knife incident. Caller states that a male approached him with a knife and attempted to stab him in the neck. It's a black male, black pants, black hoodie with a face covering. Last seen towards Liberty from Cass.
Recording.
Drop it! Drop it! Drop it! Drop it! Drop it! Oh! You alright?
Yo, I got stabbed in the face.
Start another car. Running towards Liberty. Start a 7. Drop the weapon! Drop the weapon! Drop it! 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 Shots fired! Shots fired!
Shot fired.
Stay down! Stay down! Stay down!
Yeah, he stabbed
Stay down!
There's something wrong with it.
Man, back up! Back up! Back up!
I need an ambulance. I need an ambulance. Get in the seal.
Get the...
The fact that the officer was stabbed in the manner in which he was assaulted with a knife, certainly the officer's threat perception was that it was a lethal force situation. The video shows that the events unfold very, very quickly. The officer certainly, no officer steps out of that vehicle expecting to be assaulted with a knife, certainly that quickly. Once that assault took place, the officer was stabbed. They did create attempt to create some distance between them and the subject. They were ordering the subject to comply, give verbal commands.
Drop it!
The taser in this situation is not an option, and there are a couple of different reasons for that. Number one, the taser, contrary to popular belief, is not a weapon to be utilized in a deadly force situation. It is not effective all of the time. It is effective, in fact, probably about 60% of the time that it's utilized. The way the taser works is there are 2 probes discharged from the weapon. The probes are only about 1 inch long. Those probes typically will not penetrate jackets or heavy clothing.
All right. So that was kind of a unique video. I don't think I've seen an agency so far have one of their own people talk in the manner that he did. What he said is right. Just the way the video is made and everything. Obviously, they don't have a whole lot of money. They don't have someone who is good at doing videos, and it's not a nice video presentation like LAPD. I can only imagine what budget LAPD is able to allocate to their public information office and why they're able to produce such nice videos. This is a video that you can tell is a very bare bones video, very basic video. But it delivers the same information, just as far as a aesthetic package, I guess you could say. There's a major difference between this style of video and someone like LAPD's video. They get there, dude with a knife call, and when they
Drop it! Drop Drop it! Drop it! Drop it!
Boom. Right there. Knife. In the face.
Drop it! Oh! You alright?
Yeah, I got stabbed in the face.
So he recognizes the fact that he has been stabbed in the face. Tennessee versus Gardner. Although he is a fleeing felon, he is a dangerous felon who is fleeing. He just stabbed a uniformed police officer in the face. They have the right to use deadly physical force against this guy as he's running away. If he just stabbed a police officer in the face and he's running like this, you don't know if he's going to go run to someone else and stab them in the face, go run inside the house and go take someone hostage. He is a clear and present danger to the community. He is a violent, very violent offender. He attempted to kill that police officer. They had the right to utilize deadly physical force against this guy. And I think that at that point, as long as they had a clear shot, they should have used deadly physical force against this guy.
Start another car. Running towards Liberty. Start a 7. Drop the weapon. Drop the weapon. Drop it. 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 Shots fired. Shots fired.
Shot fired. Officer, shot fired.
Stay down. Stay down. Stay down.
Yeah, he stabbed
Stay
me.
down.
Yeah, he definitely has something wrong with him. Professor. Great skills of observation. And I crack a joke like that, but there are people out there who think that just because a person might be a little off, that's somehow an excuse for them to run around with a fucking knife and stab people. No. I don't give a shit how mentally incapacitated you are. Running around with a knife stabbing people, that's wrong. I don't give a fuck how retarded you are. You can't allow mentally defective people to just run around with knives. And I have no idea what her relationship to this guy is. She could just be a woman in the neighborhood that happens to know him, or he could be living with her, and she could be his caregiver. And I have no idea to the extent of like what's wrong with this guy. I don't know if he's a legit, disabled person who's mentally out there. But if he is, then the person who's the caregiver, well, hell, I think they need to be held responsible for this guy. They should be just like those parents with that boy. I forgot what state it was. The boy who did the drawings at school, and they had a meeting, and the parents refused to take him home based off the drawings on the schoolwork. And a few hours later, after that meeting ended, the boy pulled a gun out and did a school shooting. And then the prosecutors there charged those two parents in connection with that case because they allowed that boy to have a gun. Well, obviously, this is not the same state or anything, but still, that idea, that notion, if it's okay if people think it's okay to do that, then why, if in this situation this guy was so mentally defective that he's disabled, why wouldn't they not have the same mindset to support this? Okay, well, the caregiver knew that this guy's not right. Why did they leave all these weapons available to him? Why were they not watching him more closely to make sure he didn't run out of the house with one? again, I have no idea what this guy's circumstances are. I don't know if he is, like, for sure mentally handicapped and is disabled and has to have a caregiver, or what's wrong with him. I don't know. I don't know, and to be honest with you, I don't particularly care, because all I see is a person running around with a knife, stabbed a police officer in the face with this knife, and then try to come back at them when they have guns pointed at them. This dude brought it upon himself. And quite frankly, someone like that does not need to be walking freely on the streets. If someone thinks that it's okay to run around with a knife and stab a police officer in the face and then try to come back and stab them again, I don't want them on my streets. Honestly, I don't want them alive at all. But if they're going to be alive, I certainly don't want them walking freely around on the streets. If they're going to have no problem stabbing a police officer in the face, well, then they have no problem stabbing anyone else in the face. So they use deadly physical force against him, and then they go to detain him and presumably start medical aid on him. So he's obviously on the ground, incapacitated at this point, and he goes to put his gloves on. Now, it's hard to see what the other officer is doing. We do see that once he fires and starts to back up.
Stay down! Stay down! Stay down!
Yeah.
Shots fired! Shots fired!
He puts his gun away.
Shot fired.
Stay down! Stay down! Stay down!
Yeah.
Stay down!
Wrong with it.
Man, back up! Back up! Back up!
I need an
So it looked like the other officer did not have his gun out. So I think that's a problem in and of itself. This guy's on the ground, and we can't see exactly where the knife is at. Even if you can see that the knife is a considerable distance away from him, you just can't assume that's the only knife he has. You have to assume that he has another knife. And so this officer is doing the right thing by putting on PPE before he touches him, because you don't want to touch people with bodily fluids. You don't know what they've been doing in life. You don't know what kind of bloodborne pathogens they have. You have to assume that everyone has something. So anytime you're dealing with bodily fluids, you need to put gloves on. No problem with him pausing to put gloves on. The problem I have is that it does not appear as though the other officer is providing lethal cover. What if this guy decided to all of a sudden get up and attack again? Well, there's not a gun out in play at this point. Both guns appear to be holstered. So that's going to cause a delay in being able to utilize the correct amount of force to prevent this guy from attacking again. So the other officer needed to be providing lethal cover, in my opinion, while he gloves up and goes hands-on with this guy. Then once this guy's cuffed and searched, then it's good to go ahead and put that gun back in the bucket. So they have their use of force trainer give some background information on this video for their community, their public. And he is correct. He's 100% right about a taser not being effective. And this kind of weather, these thick clothing, like it's gonna be hard to utilize taser in this kind of weather. Even when you have the green blast doors, the extra penetration darts, it's still going to be difficult to get good connectivity and achieve NMI when you're dealing with such large, bulky clothing.
The taser in this situation is not an popular belief. It approximately about 60% of the time that it's utilized. The way the taser works is there are two probes discharged.
And what I was saying earlier about him putting gloves and stuff on, he's super close to this guy. Very super close.
From the weapon. The probes are only.
And the guy whose camera we're watching, he's not 100% paying attention to what's going on. He's trying to relay to dispatch where they're at, and it appears as though he's trying to look at the block range of where they're at here.
About an inch long. Those probes typically will not penetrate jackets or heavy clothing.
And then the video ends very abruptly.
Drop the weapon!
Probably the only negative thing I gotta say about the video itself, as far as its presentation or whatever, it just ends super abruptly. No ending title or anything. So first line medical gear. We don't see any medical treatment going on. The video ends pretty abruptly. Obviously the guy on the ground has a gunshot wound, and this officer has a wound to his face. These are the only two officers there. When it comes to medical gear, I believe that you should always carry medical gear on you, your first line medical gear, and that gear needs to be reserved for you and or your partners or family if you're in the armed citizen capacity. Everything else would be second line medical gear or what you would call supplemental medical gear. And that's the stuff that you can keep in the car. That's the stuff that's going to supplement the gear that's on you that you've used on yourself and or your buddy. In this situation right here, once they've cuffed him and cleared him, made sure he don't have any other weapons on him, he can lay there and bleed out as far as I'm concerned. This officer needs to get priority treatment. He's already an established good person in the community. He was injured first, so guess what? He gets treatment first. The officer on scene, who's uninjured, would be the one providing care. He would be the one getting this officer the medical treatment that he needs. And then, like I said, that guy that just shot, he can sit there and bleed out until other people get there to render aid to him. Again, he brought this shit upon himself. He can lay there and bleed out until someone else can help him. In the meantime, right now, the uninjured officer needs to be giving medical care to the injured officer and providing pre-hospital care for him. And then when other people get there, then the bad guy can be worked on. Their car is a decent distance away. So, see if I can... I don't know if... Okay, here we go. So their cruisers are down here. Not a terrible distance away. It's not very far. But they parked some distance away, and this thing kind of moved on up towards this way. Let's say that they happen to be a lot further away from their vehicles. What are they going to do? Is he going to leave the injured officer there with the injured guy and then go back to the vehicle and grab medical equipment and then come all the way back? What if, while he was gone, the injured officer lost too much blood and passed out? And then the suspect was able to crawl over to him, get his keys, unlock his cuffs, and then get away, or get his gun, or even crawl over to him and get his gun out while still having his hands cuffed behind his back. And then as the other officer approached back, he can not very accurately shoot at him, but still shoot at him. That's a possibility. Well, what if he just told the injured officer to go to the car to get the medical equipment? Well, what if the injured officer went unconscious on his way over there and fell down? Now the officer is going to have to leave the suspect and go over here and tend to him while screaming woman is over here. Well, hell, she could get the suspect up and walk him into the house, and now we got a standoff situation. So it's important that you have medical gear on you because you're not always going to be near the car. if you believe that if you can keep medical gear in your car and you can use it when you need it, well, that's wrong. That's a wrong mindset. That would be the same as if you always kept your gun in your car and then went into the stores and stuff like that and had the mindset, well, if something happens, I can just go out to my car and get my gun. If you're a gun person, you're going to very quickly recognize that's a stupid fucking mindset. It is. It is very stupid. But you can very quickly come to that conclusion when it involves guns. Medical stuff, can you very quickly come to that same conclusion? Maybe not. You should. You should come to that very quick conclusion that having medical gear so far away is that's a horrible idea. It's a bad idea. It's a recipe for disaster. So just like you wouldn't keep your gun some far distance away, you should not keep your medical gear some far distance away. You should carry it on you. If you're going to carry the tools to induce trauma, you need to carry the tools to reduce trauma. You should be able to save a life as much the same as you're able to take a life, as easy as you can. Carrying the medical gear is one part of it. You also have to have the knowledge on how to use it. Just like with carrying your gun. You can't just carry your gun around without any training whatsoever. That's a recipe for a disaster. If you're a gun person, you will recognize that. You have to have some level of training, some degree of training and practice with that gun if you're going to carry it. All gun people would recognize the fact that you just cannot go to the gun store, buy a gun, and start walking around with it all the time without ever having shot a gun before or even shooting that gun. You instantaneously know that's wrong. Therefore, you should be able to recognize that buying medical gear but never having any training in it, but carrying it all the time, is still wrong. So on top of getting medical gear, you should also train on how to use medical gear. Aside from it being useful for traumatic injuries and gunfights, it's also pretty damn useful for every other day occurrences in life, like coming across car accidents and things of that nature. And in fact, you are probably more likely to come across some type of accident than you are to come across an incident where someone's trying to rob you or you're having a home invasion kind of incident. It's more likely that you will come across a car wreck or someone who's a little kid falling off their bike or fell out of a tree, something, than you are some violent encounter. So it just makes more sense to have medical gear. Not saying just have medical gear only and no guns. They should both go hand in hand. But you should invest in medical gear just like you do guns and self-protection gear. If you carry a gun on a daily basis, whether you're an armed professional or just an armed citizen, you should recognize the fact that that means you could potentially be involved in a gunfight. And gunfights means that bullets go both directions. Bullets can come towards you and they can hit you and or hit your teammates and or hit your family. So it is imperative that you have medical gear on you and you know how to use it. Not much else to say about this video. If you like what you hear and see, go ahead and give me a like and a share. If you have not already, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more Monday quarterback videos. Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching.